I am Kim Tracy with the Maxwell James Speaker Agency, here with Dr. T.C. North in Lafayette, Colorado. This is the second segment of our Mastering Fears series. It's called Identifying Fears. And last time we actually talked about the big four fears. Could you repeat for our audience what those are?
Yeah, you bet, Kim. Big four fears, this is when we digested the 30-some fears that we actually asked people that they had and identified that they had. And we really categorized them as fear of failure, fear of success, fear of rejection, and fear of selling.
Mm-hmm.
So how about we do a little bit more? I'd like to take these before we go into the resolution of fears, because identifying fear is the first step of mastering fears. How about we just spend more time on the identification today?
Perfect.
Deal? All right. So, y'all watching, listening, questions for you. I want you to think about, what are you afraid to fail at? And this can be your personal life. It can be your professional life. It can be a love relationship. It can be a relationship with a child. It could be with your friends. It could be with colleagues, afraid to let them down. That's a form of failure. So just come up with one thing that you're afraid to fail at, and at some level you're afraid to fail at. And we're not going to quantify the level of fear yet, but just, what are you afraid to fail at? And that's the first big fear. And so we're going to go through each one of these, and I'm going to pause on the next one a bit to explain it. And that is the fear of success. And as I shared with you earlier, Kim, I think the fear of success is one of the most cryptic and broad-based fears in all of corporate America, especially. And so I'm going to explain what fear of success is. It's what we call in psychology when there's dissonance, which means there's an inner struggle between two goals or two things in your mind. So if I want to be more successful at work and I feel like that's going to take away from my home life, I have dissonance about that. That work-life balance thing that everybody always talks about, which I think is the wrong way to, by the way, a little bit, that's a whole different topic for a day, it's not about balance, it's about success in all areas of your life that are important. Because the people I work with, high achievers especially, they aren't balanced in the traditional sense, but a lot of them have really complete and happy lives in all aspects of life. And that's really the goal, not about balance the way we think about balance as equal. It's just not. So fear of success, other examples. So I'll share a personal example. You may or may not know this about me, but if you do a psychological profile, I'm an extreme introvert. Yet here, you're my speaker agent. I probably shouldn't tell you that, right?
We're actually both introverts.
Uh-huh. So then as an introvert, I have that constant challenge of, I love being at home. I love being with the people I love, and love being with my animals, my gardens, and in the yard, whatever. And yet I love to go out and be on stage. But I have to find a way to make sure that, because my DNA is an introvert and, my DNA says be at home, that I don't let that sabotage my desire to make a difference in the world. And that has to be very conscious, because if it's not conscious, my subconscious can find all kinds of ways to sabotage me that I won't even know. And that's why I say fear of success is so cryptic, because it happens and we don't even know it happens.
Okay.
We just go, it's circumstance, it's life, it's whatever, and we find an excuse for it because we don't understand that it's us creating it at a really deep level. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah. So I like talking about that, and even in large organizations, like I've worked with a bunch of Fortune 100 companies. If I'm really successful in my job and I work there, I may have to go to a different city or a state or even a country for my next move. And do I want to leave all of that I know and all of the people I love, to be more successful in my work? And so fear of success has just so many pieces to it that it's really important to understand, that cognitive difference, cognitive dissonance that can happen with two sets of goals.
Okay.
Third one is fear of rejection, and I think that's a little bit more obvious. But there's some interesting aspects to fear of rejections. I do a lot of coaching of entrepreneurs, and a lot of them are really nice people. And because they're really nice people, they want their employees always to like them. And sometimes it's more important to be respected than liked. And so they're afraid if they give tough feedback, loving feedback, but tough feedback, they're afraid they're not going to be liked and they're going to be rejected as a friend, as a person. And it really holds them back, because you have to get the best out of everybody that's on your team. And when you're just always nice, you don't get the best.
Right.
Because everybody thrives, high performers thrive on feedback, right? Yeah. So, and then the fourth one is fear of selling. So, as you all go through this, when I went through fear of success, could you imagine anything that, if you're more successful, it changes your life in a way that could be challenging to you, or maybe there's parts of that you don't like. And so note that would be something that you have some fear of success. And fear of rejection, not just the obvious ones, but the less obvious ones, where you might be afraid to be rejected by a friend at a friendship level or employee in terms of their loyalty or how much they like you. And then the fourth one, which we spent some time on last time, selling, is the fear that often people run into is selling themselves. Not just the products and services, because we have to do that all the time. We're selling an idea to a colleague or to a spouse or to a child. We're always selling ideas all day long. We don't call it that, but that's our influence. So I wanted to cover those in more depth because we went through the 6 steps of mastering fear last time, and step 1 is identification. So I wanted people to get really solid on that, because that's, without identifying your fears, you can't master them.
Nice. And as we wrap up, what is the tip that you want to leave the viewers today?
I printed out something that I share with almost all my coaching clients, and pardon my language, but it positively pisses people off. Excuse my language, but it's this. It's the victim and master continuum. And so, with your mind, are you victimizing yourself when you don't acknowledge your fears? If you don't try to figure out what's sabotaging your success, or not allowing you to be as successful as possible because it's fear-based, that's really putting yourself in a victim to your own mind. So this is about your mind. Are you master of your mind, or are you victim of your mind? And if you don't identify and master your fears, you're literally being a victim to your own mind.
Excellent. If you would like to bring T.C. North in for a keynote, a workshop, or a seminar, please contact me, Kim Tracy, through MaxwellJames.net. Thanks so much for doing this.
You're welcome. Always a pleasure.